Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you this lovely little card using the Musical Jamboree Stamp set in our Stampin Blends. So let me set this aside and I'll show you how I got started. Okay, for this project, I'm going to be using my basic white cardstock and Memento ink. I'm going to cut these images out with my stylish circle dies, so I want to make sure I'm leaving enough room between the images so that I can do that. I'm going to ink up my wolf here first and stamp. And then I'm going to bring in these little grass images and stamp one here, and the other one I'm going to do down here. Some of it will get cut off, but that's okay. I'm going to take my sentiment image and I'm going to place it on the left here, and then my fire I'm going to place in the center. There we go. I've got my stamping done and I'm ready to do some Stampin' Blend coloring. Okay, I've got my Stampin' Blends here and I am going to start with my fire. I am going to use my pecan pie and I am going to do the logs. So I'm going to start with the wood here and the light, and I'm simply going to fill those in as desired, just quickly and easily. And of course, a light touch on these areas and your color lifter will give you a nice finish. And then I'm going to bring in the dark, and I'm simply going to add some highlights along these lines, or I should say low lights, that they've given me already in around the fire itself. And then I can come back and I can smooth those colors out and blend them together with my light. There we go. I've got my fire done and I'm ready to work on the flames. So I'm going to bring in my Cajun Craze here, and I'm going to start with the dark and add a little bit of shading to this flame. And then I'm going to bring in, I grabbed my light to begin with, so I'm going to do this whole area. And then I'm going to bring back my dark and add those details along the bottom of the flames. And of course I can finish that off by blending them together simply by going over the flame again. I've got that finished and I'm ready to move on to my pumpkin pie. So I'm going to bring in the dark. I'm going to do that area along the bottom and the Cajun Craze flame. And then I'm going to come back with the light pumpkin pie and finish it off. And I can even do the little flames above the fire there. Now that I have that done, I'm going to move on to my little banjo here, and I'm going to use the crumb cake for that. I'm going to bring in my light and do the entire instrument here. It's okay if I go over the strings because that is also going to be shaded in with the light behind those strings. And I'll bring in my dark and add some details to the bottom and the top of the banjo, like so. I've got my banjo finished and I'm going to bring in my 900 and do the little guy's ear. And then I'm going to bring in my gray granite and I'm going to add some shading around. I'm going to use the dark gray granite here and add the back inside of his leg here. And then some shading along the bottom of the tail, kind of where Stampin' Up! Has given us the idea that it should be darker with their little lines up the back of the tail, like so. I'm also going to add some under his chest, or his forearm, I should say, and bandana. the back arm. And his neck. And his back ear here. I've got that finished, so I can bring in my light and add the rest of my color. Of course, if you want to blend these really well, you'll want a wet edge, which allows for easier blending. So you'll either want to do one section at a time or move fairly quickly. I've got my animal done and I'm ready to work on the bandana. I'm going to be using Calypso Coral for his bandana here, and I'm simply going to color that in. It's a little brighter than the Cajun Craze. There we go, and I'm going to add a couple of layers here where I want it to look a little darker. Okay, I'm done with my coloring and I'm ready to start assembling. While I was at the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, I die cut my 3 pieces out using the stylish circles, and I've also dry embossed with this fern embossing folder. I hope you can see that. It's got some lovely texture and feel to it, giving this outdoor card a little more pizzazz. I'm going to adhere this straight down onto my card front. And of course, a liquid adhesive is great for this because you don't damage that beautiful look. And then I'm going to flip these over and add some dimensionals to the back. On these last 2, until I know where I want them, I'm only going to add top and bottom. I'm going to remove the backings here, and I'm going to flip over my little guy, and I'm going to adhere him to the card front. And then I'm going to decide where I want my fire, and I like it right about there, so I can add another dimensional to the side here, remove the backings, and adhere. Last but not least is my sentiment, and I'm going to add that up here so I can add another sentiment on another dimensional on this side. And if I want to, I can add a little bit of liquid adhesive on the other side to help it on this piece and keep it down, but it's not necessary. I'm going to do that here. There we go. And now for a little bit of texture. I'm going to bring in these beautiful textured dots. They've got this kind of patina to them that makes it pick up that mossy meadow. And I am going to add a few of these around the card. And I think I'm going to add another large one over here on the mossy meadow. There you go, just a little bit of texture, and I think the color brings in that natural outdoor look. So there you go, a quick and easy card using the Musical Jamboree Stamp set found in our 2024 annual catalog. And of course, if you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.